Man City Everton. Did you watch that match?
I did. That handball was stupid.
The fucking handball. Let's talk about the match a little bit first.
Because we all know what happened against Spurs.
We'll get to that in a second. Let's just start before we get too heated. Let's spend a few minutes on the actual gameplay because this is one of those where, wow, it's 0-0 going in a little bit late into the match with City. Have City just been sleepwalking? And I don't think they were. I think Jordan Pickford was having an old Jordan Pickford, an England Jordan Pickford sort of a night.
Yeah, it was definitely...
He had some saves.
Pickford was the best I've seen him all season.
Absolutely.
And that is no joke because I've been wondering why he is not as good as he was for the English squad. And he was phenomenal last year. I'm sorry. But
well, I mean, they were chanting at Ramsdale, you're just a shit Jordan Pickford. And now they've switched it to Pickford going, you're just a shit Aaron Ramsdale. Because he just really hasn't been that great. But he looked like a leader out there again. Honestly, he looked like the England Jordan Pickford.
Right.
But Richarlison looked good and hungry, and he's a little bitch.
But not in that, like, he's going to get a card or he's such a punk. He was just fighting.
Yeah, he was mad when he didn't get across. He was mad,
I really loved the passion, but it didn't, normally, like, he's like Wilfried Zaha for me, where he's just like, I'm not getting my way, so I'm going to get angry. Yeah. Which we've seen me do that.
He's a bit more pouty than Zaha. He's a bit more like, oh,
yeah, definitely.
There was even one where Everton had one of their better breaks, and I think it was Decore who picked out Gordon, I want to say it is, a young kid on their team, and here comes Richarlison flying in, and Gordon was being closed down by two defenders, and he decides to take the shot, and it needed to be saved. However, had he crossed it a little bit earlier, Richarlison was flying in. And you saw, instead of Richarlison being like, great job, guys, we go again, he was like,
He does do that.
And I'm like,
he's
dude,
got that really bad
you
haircut.
just broke through one of the best defenses in the world. And yes, you were in a great spot. Had he made another decision, you guys score. You should be like, run it back. Let's do it again. But Everton actually had their chances in this, which leads us
to the moment.
Oh, and what a shitty goal by Phil Foden, right? Like, that's one where you're like, we're going to lose on this? Oh, I would be furious if I was Everton. Like, this is the Phil Foden they're saying is going to win Ballon d'Ors. He's going to be...
Oh, my God.
Fuck.
No. You want to talk about another player out there that has not had anywhere near the season he had last year? Phil Foden is definitely on that list. Oh. He's not nearly...
And people keep talking about him, best young player in the world.
Wasn't he the best rent boy in the league last year?
Yeah. And people are talking about best young player in the world, and they keep putting Foden up there. I'm like, why? Yeah, he shows moments of quality, but when does he do it consistently?
Well, he'd have to play. He'd have to start consistently.
Oh, so best young player in the world doesn't get to start much. Oh, so not the fucking best young player in the world.
That's why.
Prove me wrong.
That's because him and Grealish keep going to the clubs together.
Oh gosh, they should have signed Aubameyang. They would have had a blast together, all of them.
Yeah, they would have. Aubameyang would be like, "Come on, man, there's this party in Dubai." He's like, they'd be all like, "We might get COVID." He's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry, it's fine." Okay.
No, they'd be like, yeah, but we were all going to go, but we couldn't decide whose jet to take. You bunch of twats. Anyway.
Foden has a jet?
I'm sure he does. You don't dye your hair like that unless you got a jet already.
I don't know nothing about that.
Anyway, let's get to this handball situation. So a bunch of confusion on the pitch. Richarlison with another break over the defenses, and the shot gets blocked or bungled somehow. Ball goes up in the air, spinning, hits the ground. You can tell Rodri's going to stop the ball with his chest, but there's spin on it, and he raises his arm. You can tell exactly what he's trying to do. Yeah. He's going to just bump the ball and keep it right there. There's nobody around. Richarlison would probably be offside at that point if he No, because he was the one who touched it.
Wasn't that the reason why it wasn't called
The commentators were guessing.
Because someone was offside, but yet
the commentators were guessing, and that turned out to not be the case.
It was
Richarlison was onside when the pass was passed, and he was the last Everton player to touch the ball.
All I know is that he made himself bigger.
He made himself bigger.
And he didn't turn, because what I've seen sometimes in handballs that don't get called is the player is like sliding and trying to turn,
or your arm is moving
pivoting,
this way,
or you're trying to put your hands behind your back.
This was making himself
but
bigger.
He made himself bigger, and it hit like below the sleeve. And
it hit the sleeve and the arm.
But it hit below the sleeve,
Yes.
And these are things, especially in this City game, where it just riles me up, because it was a less egregious handball when City played Wolves, and it hit the armpit of Moutinho, and it's called a penalty, and that's how we lost that match. As far as I'm concerned, the refs took points away from Everton in this particular one. And it's like we can't let Liverpool get too close, in the race, but we don't want to make it that easy for them, I'm not really sure. It was ridiculous, though.
So, I'm right there with you of there's no excuse for that. So here's the thing. I understand why it wasn't called a handball on the field, because the referee was like this down the line. There were players in the way, and there's no reason he's paying that much attention to what the ball is doing, because the play was nearly dead. There's no Everton players around it. It's like 4 City players around there. Rodri's just going to get the ball, kick it back. So who knows if he's even watching that closely. Either way, on the pitch, that call gets missed. That's fine. That's what VAR is there for. So it goes to VAR. Now, if it's just a quick, no, not a handball, move on. Okay, then that's the decision that they made. It's clear and obvious, it's not a clear and obvious, so they're not going to involve, they're going to go with the call in the field. But they looked at it for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They looked at multiple angles. At that point, just call him over. Just say, you know what? Why don't we both figure this out? Because I'm a little like, it could go either way, and I know you didn't see it. Come over here, Tierney, Paul Tierney, and let's, I think it was Paul Tierney on the pitch.
Yes.
It was, Kavanaugh was on VAR. So, but that, to me, if you're going to take 2 minutes and it's that close, have him come look. Just have him come look.
This just goes back to what we dealt with in the early part of last season, where handballs were being called left and right. They changed the rules or tweaked them and let the officials know that it's like, okay, this is how we're going to call it. So it goes the rest of the season. Handballs calm down, and then off season comes and they tweak the rule again. And what I had commented on when that had happened, and I said, you watch, officials are not going to know, and they're going to be confused, and they're going to be reluctant to make the calls that need to be made, and that's what we've been seeing. And how many kind of, not to bring it back up, but in the Arsenal Wolves game, how many potential handballs did you see in that match? I saw a couple,
multiple
on both sides.
Yes, yeah.
Now
maybe not in the box.
No.
But out in the field, in the field, yeah. But look at the implications of this, Mark. Imagine Liverpool right now going, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
In a 6-point race, essentially a 3-point race because they have a game in hand.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And Everton, who is looking at relegation right now.
They're like 1.
You don't think that
out.
1 point from a match where they're expected to get none?
Yep.
You don't think that matters? What about the teams who are down there? What about the teams who are all this?
Yeah.
And this just goes back to the consistency. If João Moutinho's was a handball, yet this one isn't, The team that benefited from both of those calls is Manchester City.
It's top of the league.
How do we not start thinking there's some sort of conspiracy? You as VAR referees cannot possibly be that shitty, right? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you're not shitty at your job, which means then you're corrupt. So if you're not corrupt, then you are just shitty at your job, and how are you at the top, highest level?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Something's got to change.
I'm not.
If
I'm
it's not
really
corrupt,
sure.
then they're shitty. If they're not shitty, they're corrupt. That's all I see.
And this is another one of those cases where we've talked about it in the past, where if it goes to VAR and a decision is made, the ref has to announce why that decision is, much like they do in the NFL, where they talk about, or maybe it's the challenge, or maybe it's the flag, or whatever. They tell you what happened, and they explain their decision, and then move on.
No, they do their favorite gesture, which is play on, bitches.
I got tea.
We got shit to do. I'm
wanna
reffing
eat.
an under 12 match later to make ends meet.
This is the one I like.
Anyway, we'll see. Conspiracy. Well, that's it for today's show. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel where we have all the different episodes that are coming out all week long, covering all sorts of Premier League topics.
And if you enjoy what we're doing, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, the Holy Trinity that we ask each and every one of you to do.
And go to onthestoopwithlolo.com. You can check out what we're up to, and you can join in the discussion groups, talk football all week long, and buy some cool merchandise.
And if you want to be a part of the Stoop crew, you can join us Friday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time here in the States.
Midnight in the UK.
Sometime across the pond, sometime for our friends out on the West Coast. And join us for happy hour. We have a lot of fun talking about just about anything, and we have wonderful trivia questions at the end.
Banter and trivia, Friday nights live. Join us in the comments. All right, peace from Brooklyn, y'all.